Good day everyone, my name is Milaine O. Pasarillo from BSB FM1B at studying at Bachelor of Science Business Administrations, major in Financial Management in Bulacan State University, Meneses Campus. And the topic for today in this virtual seminar is all about drug addictions. Ano nga ba ang pumapasok sa isip natin kapag naririnig natin itong drugs or drug addictions? Halina't atin talakayin kung ano nga ba ito. Drug addictions. Drugs are substances that changes a person's mental or physical state. They can affect the way your brain works, how you feel and behave, your understanding and your serves. This makes them unpredictable and dangerous, especially for young people. Ano nga ba ang drug addictions? Ang drug addictions ay isang gawi na madalas na mahirap ay nakakasagabal sa buhay ng isang tao o kabataan. A habit or a practice that damages, jeopardizes, or shortens one's life but when causes trauma. A drug addictions ay isa sa pinakamalaking suliranin na kinakalaban o kinakaharap ng bansa natin hanggang ngayon. Drug addictions ay ang pinakalulong o pinakahumaling na isang tao sa pinagbabawal na gamot. Hindi lamang ang pisikal na pangangatawan ang kaya nitong sirain o wasakin, kundi pati ang ating mental, emosyonal o social ng isang tao na maaari nitong sirain. Drugs addictions or dependence is a state of compulsive use of psychoactive substance, drugs, narcotics, and the chemicals. Addictions or compulsive drugs are use of despite harmful consequences is characterized by an inability to stop of using drugs, failure to meet work, social, or family obligations, and sometimes, depending on the drugs, tolerance, and the withdrawal. Kung magpapatuloy sila sa paggamit nito sa kabila ng negatibong kahinatnan, maging sa social, mental, o emosyonal, maapektuhan ang kanilang pisikal na pinsala sa kanila. Use continues despite negative consequences, social, emotional, physical harm they may cause the uses. Use of the substance continues despite having persistence or recurrent social or intrapersonal problem cause of exacerbated by the effects of its uses. Drugs are harmful. Number 1, medicines can solve problems. Maaaring malutas ng gamot ang mga problema na kinakaharap nito. Medicines are chemicals or compound used to cure symptoms. Number 2, widespread access to various changes of drugs. Ito ay nagpapalaganap o paglaganap ng iba't ibang gamot maging sa katawan. Many of these drugs pose additional risk because it's their physical effects. Number 3, peer pressure. Direct influence on people by peers or effect on an individual who wants to follow by peers by changing their attitudes, values, or behaviors. Number 4, drugs gives enjoyment. Recreational drugs are chemical substances taken for an enjoyment or leisure purposes like alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine or cocaine. Drug abuse. Ano nga ba itong drug abuse na ito? It is clinically known as substance use disorder. Drug abuse or addictions is caused by their chemical and the habitual taking of addictions and substance. Drug abuse include alcohol, marijuana, hallucinogens, and opioid substance use in disorder is a disease, causing people to compulsively use in drugs despite consequences. Drug abuse is the act. It is the use of licit or illicit chemical substance which result in physical, mental, or social. Ang paggamit ng mga ito ay isang chemical na resulta ng physical o mental kahit na di sa social na ito. Licit. Licit is within the law of legal drugs on the market include caffeine or cocaine, nicotine, and alcohol prescriptions. Drugs are also licit drugs which legal with a doctor's order. Illicit. An addiction to illicit drugs changes the way a person's brain works and consequently the way they think and act. Effects of drug abuse. Seizures, stroke, mental confusions and brain damage, lung disease, problem with memory of the people, attention and discussions making, which may daily living more difficult. Global effects of drugs on the body and such as a breast development in a man and increases in the body temperature which can lead to other health problems. Ito ang mga epekto ng drugs abuse to abusong paggamit ng illegal na droga. Ito ay ang mga pinsala ng stroke, pagkalito o kaisipan sa pinsala sa utak maging sakit na baga. Pagkakaroon na rin ng problema sa memorya at paggawa ng sariling desisyon. At ito ang kanilang pang-araw-araw na ginagawa sa sarili at pinahihirapan ang kanilang mga sariling buhay. Drugs are chemical that affects the body and the brain. Causes of drug abuse. A. Unhappy home. Hindi pagkakaroon ng masasaya o masayang buhay sa bahagi ng kanilang pamamahay dahil ito ay nalulung sa iligal na droga. Letter B. Lack of parent values and guidance. Ito ay pagkakaroon o pagkukulang ng pagpapahalaga ng mga magulang at maging sa paggabay dahil ito ay napabayaan na dahil sa gawaing maging sa sarili sa paggamit ng illegal na droga. C is domestic violence. Domestic violence, abusers and victims alike must find a way to break the cycle through treatment and recovery. Letter D. Parents who make pre-use of alcohol. Ito ay ang mga magulang na siyang mismo gumagamit o malayang gumagamit ng alcohol o illegal na droga. E. Peer pressure. Sabi ko nga kanina, ito ay isang hamon na nararanasan ng isang tao lalo't ito ay kinakain ng kanyang problema o pagkalungkot sa buhay at pagkalulong sa illegal na droga. Letter F. Curiosity. Curiosity can lead to substance abuse. Drugs use can lead to physical, mental, and emotional health. There are some different kinds of drugs. Number 1 is depressants. Pampakalma o pampahina. Known as a downers, drugs that acts on the the central nervous system using initial relaxations that leads to sleep and drowsiness. Ito ay isang gamot na siyang kumikilos at nagpapalumbay sa sistema ng isang tao na ito ay ikanenerbyo sa sanghing paunang pagpapahinga o humahantong sa pagkatulog o pagkahilo ng isang tao. Mga gamot na nagpapabagal sa pagtakbo o pag-andar ng paggitnang sistema ng nerbiyos ng tao o maging sa katawan ng tao. Letter A. Alcohol. An alcohol drink is a drink that contains ethanol, a type of alcohol produced by fermentations of grains, fruits, or other source of sugar. Ang alcohol na ito ay naglalaman ng ethanol na isang uri ng alcohol na ginagawa sa pagbuburo o pag-impok ng mga butil ng prutas o iba pang mapagkukunan ng asukal o matatamis na itong ihahalo sa mga inumin. Letter B. Sedative. Hypnotic drugs, chemical substance used to reduce tensions and anxiety and include calm sedative effect or to include induced sleep hypnotic effect. Ito naman ay nagpampakalma o hypnotic na gamot na may chemical na sangkap na ginagamit upang mabawasan ang pag-ikting o pagkakabalisa na isinasagawa sa pagiging kalmado o kaya sa tinatawag na sedative effect. Number 2 is stimulants. Pampasigla. Drugs used to stimulate alertness, boost mood, increase speech, mental and motor activity, alleviated, and tiredness or boredom, and decrease appetite. Ito ay ang mga bawal na gamot kung nakakapagpabilis o nakakapagpabadali ito sa ating pagtakbo sa pagiting ng sistema ng tao. Halimbawa na lamang nito ay ang mga cocaine, ecstasy, mephamphetamine at hydrocolloid at iba pang mga illegal na drugs. Letter A is ecstasy. A synthetic drug similar to amphetamine color white, yellow or brown, with a bitter taste and corners in the form of tablets, capsules, or powder in a various and shapes. Ang ecstasy. Ang ecstasy na ito ay kadalasang nasa anyo ng tableta, ngunit mayroong ding tinuturok at iniinom sa iba pang paraan nito. Letter B is cocaine, o tinatawag na coke. Alkaloids are delivered from coca plant leaves and commonly used in a minor surgery as a local anesthetic, one of the smoothest and the most potent stimulants. Ang cocaine na ito ay tumutukoy sa drogang nasa pulbos, malakristal na anyo, hinango mula sa dahon ng coca, at ang cocaine ay unang ginawa bilang isang painkiller. The next is number 3 is hallucinogens. Known as a psychedelic, a collection of natural or synthetic psychoactive substances that create a shift in the taste of consciousness that triggers reactions including perceptual alternations. Mga bawal na gamot kapag nakakaapekto ito sa pag-unawa o kakayahang umunawa sa isang tao. Halimbawa na nito ay ang mga LSD or lysergic acid Tylamid, kabuti ng mga salamangka o maging magic mushrooms. Mescalamine o ecstasy o marijuana may matapang na doses o dosahe at iba pa. Letter A is marijuana. Known as cannabis or moderate hallucinogenous product extracted from crushed leaves, flowering tops, and stems of cannabis sativa hemp plant. Ang marijuana ay kalimitahang inirorolyo sa isang sigarilyo na tinatawag na joint o isang nail. Maaari ring itong itago, ilaga, bilang isang tsaa o ihalo sa pagkain o hititin sa pamamagitan ng tubong pantubig na tinatawag na bong. Letter B is mescaline, known as STP, a product extracted from peyote cactus dried tops. Ang mescaline ay maaari ring magawa sa pamamagitan ng kemikal na pagbubuo. Ang mescaline sulfate ay purong anyo ng gamot na ililitaw bilang isang puting malakristal na materyal. Drug Law Enforcement Agencies. Philippine National Drug Law Enforcement. This is original of the Philippine Constabulary Anti-Narcotics and Unit activated in 1972, enforce all laws or drug are harmonized, supervise, and coordinate anti-narcotics activities. Ito ay isang ahensya ng Pilipinas na pagpapatupad ng batas laban sa bawal na gamot. It is the lead of anti-drug law enforcement agencies responsible for preventing, investigating, and combating any dangerous drugs, control, precocious, and essential chemicals within the Philippines. The agency is tasked with the enforcement law of the penal and regulators provisions of Republic Act number 9165. The Dangerous Drugs Board. 9165, the Dangerous Drug Boards is the policy-making and strategy formulating body in the planning and formulations of policies and programs on drug prevention control. DDB or Dangerous Drugs Board ay isang ahensya ng gobyerno na tungkulin sa paglikha ng mga patakaran sa pagharap sa iligal na droga sa Pilipinas. At the time, the Republic Act number 6425, also known the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972, was approved on March 30, 1972. There are 20,000 drugs users, and marijuana is the most preferred illegal drug among users in the country. National Bureau of Investigations or NBI. In the investigate arm of the Department of Justice. Ito ay isang pambansang kawaninan ng pagsisiyasat o obligated as NBI. This is an agency of the Philippines government under the Department of Justice, responsible for handling and solving major high-profile and cases of the arrest or interest of the nations. The divisions of investigations, later renamed the National Bureau of Investigations, came into existence on June 19, 1947. The date Republic Act 157 was approved. Penalties against drug abuse. Penalties against drug abuse. Philippine Senate and House of Representatives passed Republic Act number 9165, known as the Comprehensive Drugs Act of 2002, on May 29, 2002 and May 30, 2002. An act of instituting the Comprehensive Dangerous Act of 2002, repairing the Republic Act number of 6425, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act 1972, as amendly providing funds therefore and for the other purposes. 9165, the maximum penalty is the imprisonment and the fine of 500,000 to 10 million. It is imposed on serious offenses, including possessions, importations, manufacture, and distributions. The lightest penalty in the prison term of use of 1 year and 1 day to 6 years, plus a fine of 10,000 to 50,000. Unnecessary prescriptions on dangerous drugs. Penalties of 12 years and 1 day to 20 years in imprisonment and fine of 100,000 to 500,000. Possessions of equipment and instrument apparatus and other paraphernalia and dangerous drugs, who unless authorized by the law shall possess, have under his or he control any equipment of the instrument. Penalties of 6 months, 1 day to 4 years imprisonment and fine ranging of 10,000 to 50,000. Unlawful prescriptions of dangerous drugs. Penalties of life imprisonment to death and fine of 500,000 to 10 million pesos. Maintenance and keeping of original records of transactions on the dangerous drugs and or control precursors and essentials chemicals. Penalties of 1 year and 1 day to 6 years imprisonment and fine of 10,000 to 50,000. Uses of dangerous drugs. Use of dangerous drugs. A person or arrested who is found to be positive for use of any dangerous drugs or after a confirmatory test shall be imprisonment and a penalty of minimum of 6 months rehabilitations in a government certain for the list of offenses subject to the provisions of Article 8 of this Act. Penalties for the first time of 6 months rehabilitations in the government center. The second time imprisonment is from the 6 months and 1 day to 12 years is the fine of 50,000 to 200,000. At yun lang po at maraming salamat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig at sana po ay may natutunan at may makuha kayong aral sa ating tinalakay ngayon sa virtual seminar na ito. Muli, marami pong salamat.